I forgot I already default disliked this video once I saw it existed. And yes, for those in chat, it is 4 months old. In my defense, I wasn't exactly hurrying back to his channel every day to see if he had one.
I don't remember. Good for you. You at least have a cool head on your shoulders, not to jump on him.
I'm just like, he's not worth jumping on. He's not worth jumping on. If I did jump on him, I'd bounce off him like he was a giant chunk of gelatin. The last video was is Marvel fatigue real? And we agreed that it was, and it was happening in real time. So this one is about Nobody Knows Anything, The Internet is Stupid Part 2. I don't know about y'all, but I don't know where this is going. I don't know what it's about. It's been a while since we saw the other one.
Part of the problem, isn't it? The original strain of persecution pathology, once unique to the American psyche, wherein a culture that originates from a mythology of being a rebellious underdog becomes the overwhelmingly dominant culture, but can't let go of that origin myth and still needs to imagine itself as eternally threatened, leading to increasingly delusional paranoia now exported worldwide through our pop media into the specific venue of fandom, in the same way that conservative media pundits who on...
I'm sorry, what does this have to do with media analysis?
Well, I was gonna ask, where did you get the idea that they ever felt threatened to begin with?
Yeah, I don't feel threatened, I just feel mildly annoyed.
Well, as in he's saying that it generated from the fear of American psyche from years ago, and I'm going, where the heck did you get that idea?
Yeah, where do you get the notion that we're threatened? Like, seriously, where's the notion that we're threatened? All I've said is the MCU was good, and the MCU was good for like a solid 20 films, and now it's not anymore. And he's going, "Oh, you feel threatened." I'm sorry, what?
And I'm going, no, we're not.
I'm just over here saying, yes, She-Hulk is objectively bad. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is objectively bad. Weigh them against any pre-Endgame project, and they will lose every time, in an objective sense and in a subjective sense. Yeah, he's attacking us. He's calling us conservatards for hating the MCU and hating anything modern at all. Having anything negative to say about any media at all makes you a conservatard on tier with Tucker Carlson. Which, okay, 2 can play at that game. You're a libtard because you shill everything. See? Don't I sound the smart?
To also be fair, I don't watch him.
Who, Tucker Carlson?
Yeah.
Good, you shouldn't. He's just a parrot.
Exactly.
Exactly. I'm conservative and I loathe Tucker Carlson, so what does that say about it?
Because, look, Republic, Conserva, MAGA, Sorophile, whatever you're calling yourselves this cycle.
And there it is.
There it is! It has nothing to do with actual media analysis and everything to do with him just hating people. This is your typical MovieBob. This is your typical MovieBob. He always circles it around to just blanket hatred for X groups of people. Let's not forget, I want to emphasize, this man has, like, advocated for straight-up genocide on multiple occasions against various groups of people and various people in general. Like, he is just... To say this man is unhinged feels like underselling it.
The world loves America, it just doesn't like you. Nobody likes you.
Yes, because this picture is, like, completely indicative of all of us. You want to play that game, MovieBob? You want to play that game? No one likes you. No one likes you, MovieBob. Aren't I the smart MovieBob? No one likes you.
Oh, Guy, no!
No one likes you.
I can't! Turn it off!
Mainstream popular media is so saturated with nerdity that everyone can be a geek about something. It's equally true that if everyone can be a geek, then no one really needs to be in order to just enjoy things, and that's also good.
Basically, he just did a gatekeeping bad rant. Which,
yeah.
No, gatekeeping is quite good, actually, because when something becomes mainstream, you know what happens to it next? It gets
destroyed.
I wouldn't say destroyed, I would say the first thing that happens to it before it dies is it gets homogenized. Which is more than indicatively happening to Marvel, DC, and other things, because what is the main criticism? It all feels the same. It doesn't feel unique.
All of the jokes are the exact same.
Exactly.
The character writing feels the same.
The character writing, that's been a problem with the character writing since about mid-Phase 3, Because after Thor Ragnarok, they started writing every single character to be Spider-Man. Every single character in the MCU.
Ghostbusters 2016, where everyone had to be the comedic relief all at once.
Everybody is quippy. Everybody's got a one-liner. Everybody's got something to say that's supposed to make you LOL. It's a problem, and the sooner we address it, the better it can be. What did we see in Thor Love and Thunder? It got boring very quickly. I found myself less than halfway through the movie, I was rolling my eyes every 5 minutes because the jokes weren't landing. That movie, oh, I should not have talked about it. I hate it. Anyways, moving on.
Now you've just ruined the rest of the night.
Yep,
Many of the loudest and dumbest voices either have yet to learn or are being willingly obtuse about just because the whole
Like
wide
your
world
own?
now knows all about the Avengers and
I know, right? Self-awareness is a foreign language to MovieBob, and I feel like that undersells just how, like, inherently out of it this man is. It is beyond shocking. It is beyond appalling.
No
And
offense
that's-
to you, Bob, but just...
No! Full offense to you, Bob. Your takes are trash!
everyone in the world, I mean, not literally every single person, but you get the point, watches big blockbuster movies and TV shows based on DC, Marvel, Star Wars, Star Trek, Transformers, Lord of the Rings, all the stuff. Almost none of them, percentage-wise, are actually involved in the dumb internet fandom tangents or journalism/criticism drama. That's not part of the real world for most people.
Yeah, basically, you're admitting that the shills are not only not fans, but they are also responsible for the problem.
Exactly.
You admit that millions of people just default watching something with Disney Marvel stamped on it. You're admitting that's part of the problem. You're not labeling it a problem, but you're admitting it's a factor, which is why it supports our argument. So, moving on, because that's all that point bears mentioning.
When dipshits look at the Marvel greenlighting TV shows based on stuff like Miss Marvel, Ironheart, or Echo and start filling their diapers on 5-hour Zoomcasts, like...
Oh my gosh. Where to
Wait.
begin?
I don't know how self-aware he is, because...
He's not, because if he had any self-awareness
well, I was
about
gonna
him, he would
say-
not cite EFAP as an example of this. EFAP, every 5 seconds they're saying something profound. Okay, that's an exaggeration, obviously. Watch, everyone in my chat, go watch an episode of EFAP. I don't care if I'm left with 0 viewers. Everybody, go watch an episode of EFAP. You don't have to watch all 5.5 hours. They're saying something. Once they get going in the podcast and actually start talking, they say stuff. Just admit you are salty that you don't have anything good enough to say that supersedes your ad time 20-minute mark, and move on. Just admit you're salty that you have no friends to actually jump into a podcast and vibe and talk about stuff for a few hours at a time, and move on. Move on. The average EFAP hater will cite one of their thumbnails and be like, 5.5 hours talking about how much they hate General Haldo. Meanwhile, if you actually go and watch this episode, they talk for 1 hour, they'll talk about video games. And within that 1 hour, they'll talk about individual games with gameplay mechanics therein. For another hour, they will talk about how their lives have been going. For another hour, they will talk about The Last Jedi as a whole. Then maybe they'll spend 45 minutes talking about Admiral Haldo, or General Haldo, or whatever her title is. I don't care. Then, for the rest of the podcast, it'll be Super Chat Reacts, because unlike blood-type pudding plebeians like MovieBob, they actually care about their audience and respect them. EFAP has flaws, okay? I've critiqued them. I've countered a lot of their takes.
They have bad takes, too.
They have bad
Everyone
takes,
does.
too. Everyone does. But you cannot cite length. You cannot and will not successfully cite length as one of those problems. Every one of their calls has like 40 people in it. Of course it's gonna be long. Everyone gets a say. People come and go. Their yearly streams go as long as 12 hours because they have hundreds of people in and out of their podcast calls. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like a hotline system.
It's ridiculous. The bad faith criticisms against EFAP don't stop. And people are gonna be like, what? Oh, Pirate King Boros gargles his EFAP's balls. No.
Whoa.
At least I'm not deep-throating cope like MovieBob. Sheesh. There are valid criticisms to make against EFAP, and nobody does anything because guess what? Surprise of the century, they don't actually watch it. They don't actually watch it. They just go, oh, lol, purple-haired lady is in thumbnail, meaning all they have is anti-SJW takes. Which, so what? It's not hard to make valid anti-SJW takes against Disney, especially post-Last Jedi. It's not hard to do that, because Disney is doing everything. Disney is doing everything that they're saying.
Blah, blah, the comic sales
Hey,
numbers.
yeah.
Fuck off, Ironheart. You're never gonna fill Tony's shoes, and all you're ever gonna be seen as is a cheap plastic imitation of something far better.
Did he just come for the critical drinker? I believe he just came for the critical drinker. You want to make a bet at what Ironheart is considered as far as comics are concerned, Ben? She is seen as someone who doesn't fill Tony Stark's shoes and is a cheap plastic knockoff of something that is far better. That is why, much like Ms. Marvel, 90% of her solo comics get canceled, and every time she's featured in a project, that project gets hate because nobody likes her. None of the real fans who consistently buy comic books like Ironheart. Sure, you'll get the occasional journalist shill who buys 10 Ironheart comics at once and barely keeps a series alive because they're like, oh my gosh, a black woman in an Iron Man suit, so cool. That woman is never going to buy another comic again in her life. Ever. They will buy 10 comics of Ironheart to make a point, and then they will stop. So congrats, you cited a correct point that destroys your argument. Once again, MovieBob. Impeccable. Congrats.
With the Little Mermaid,
Well, the
can we
person
also just
only.
mention that from a scientific perspective,
You are
it
not.
makes a lot of sense to have someone with darker skin.
He said this as a meme. MovieBob. Matt Walsh was joking. If he plays the full bit, what Matt Walsh is about to say, it doesn't make sense that a mermaid would be anything other than translucent. Physically, biologically speaking, a mermaid would have to be translucent to survive in the sea so that way predators didn't see her.
Who lives deep in the ocean.
Oh, wow, funny. He cut out the bit that made it obviously a meme.
yeah.
Congrats on shattering your integrity, MovieBob.
That's what the Little Mermaid should look like. She should be totally pale and skeletal, where you can see her skull through her face.
Dwarf of color. Oh my god, she said dwarf of color.
What, it was a cringe line. Valid reaction. It was a cringe thing to say. Because it was cringe!
Sales
Also,
numbers,
I
guys,
like-
not at the kind of numbers they do versus the size of the companies that own the rights to these IP. Comic book shops are
See, that's verifiably false, because a lot of people care about comic sales, because comic sales are entirely indicative on what comics continue and what comics get made into movies. Well, no, that's how it used to be, and then we got a Miss Marvel show, and a She-Hulk show, and we're getting an Ironheart show, even though all three of
At the
those
very
comics are selling
least.
like garbage right now. So, yeah.
projects like those get green lights because the big studios have demo data telling them this is what the target needs to
Ew.
be, this is where the people are at right now, and they probably know better than dipshit YouTubers like you or me for that.
I'm gonna pause him there because that is also verifiably false.
It is verifiably false, because not... Do we
that
forget how my channel has a segment on it right now where I break down how profit works in movies because 90% of the journalists don't get it? Do you remember when I broke down meticulously what budget versus profit looks like?
Meticulously, and it was-
I broke it down hysterically,
Spectacular.
meticulously, and explained how basically Venom Let There Be Carnage, a 6 out of 10 at best, made more money from a profit standpoint than Shang frickin' Chi.
Only 6.1% of people in the world use Twitter, for example. 6.1%. Yet it's constantly cited in the news media as a barometer of
know-
cultural...
You know, he's half right here. He is half right
Wait,
here.
what-
I will give him a
wait,
point
wait,
for
wait,
being
wait,
half
wait.
right.
What is 6% of 7 billion? Remind me again.
Here, let's do some quick math, shall we? That means there are... Hold on, I'm doing the math. 481,168,000 people on Twitter. And that's the real people, not including the bots. So...
Well, that's assuming that he's going off of actual factual data.
And
Which
here's the thing,
I
thing.
can say with absolute certainty, 481 million people are not using Twitter.
And then here's the thing, even if he's right,
So
even
that
if he's
number
right,
he
it
pulled
negates...
right out of his butt.
Even if he's right, it negates his point. Because all these people, the people using Twitter, a good 90% of these people are going to be part of the fan base that he's addressing.
I will say, there are places on the internet that really don't mean much in the grand scheme of things. And
Reddit.
to his very, very, very limited credit, Twitter is one of those places.
I would say Reddit is more useless, but yes.
It's not entirely dismissible. It all depends on, are you thinking with your brain or are you thinking with your heart?
Someone in my chat said based
And
anti-Redditor.
Hale was actually being misquoted there. For the record, I'll try to put the real...
So, I know I addressed this the last time we reacted to his video. Why is his audio so bad when he does this? Sounds like he's talking into a bucket of KFC he just finished.
As of 2 weeks ago, they launched a spin-off prequel to it in House of the Dragon, which, well, that can't succeed. The regular press knows this franchise is done for. YouTube hates it because a couple of the funny wig people are black now, and hey, what do you know?
Wait.
That's literally a lie! That's literally a lie!
I was gonna say...
Everybody loves it in spite of that, because guess what? It's a good show! It's almost like if you write a good show, we won't care about your race swapping! He's literally pulling a story out of his butt, and he knows it. He is a pathological liar. This show is a 9 out of 10.
Every main YouTuber that I hear from heaps praise on House of the Dragon. Not to mention...
I heap praise on House of the Dragon. I'm a staunch Christian, and I'm heaping praise on this incest-ridden dragon show. That's his worst lie yet. That is his worst lie yet. My God. That wasn't funny, but okay. Literally every single one of his jokes falls flat. I've lost count of how many, like, leftists I watch on, like, YouTube just to stay informed on both sides of the debate. And sometimes their jokes are really funny and make me laugh. Like, Hunter Avalon, I hate the guy because I think he's a hypocrite and, like, a shill and, like, a grifter. But, like, some of his jokes, to his credit, do land. He does make me laugh from time to time. MovieBob is just not funny. None of his jokes have ever made me even crack a smile.
To spend $70 million more turning Zack Snyder's already awful Justice League into a still awful but now longer and even more pointlessly pretentious and nihilistic miniseries. And the internet believed in this so much, they engaged in a years-long campaign of targeted harassment to make it happen. And when they finally did, the result was the least streamed DC movie out of several to release on the service in 2021, with additional numbers tracking that only a third of viewers actually bothered to finish watching it.
So, Zack Snyder's Justice League is an objective step up from the Joss Whedon cut, only in as far as it working in tandem with the universe they had set up. The reason Joss Whedon's Justice League didn't work is because it came after the edgelord fanfiction that was the Snyderverse. That's why it didn't mesh. That's why it didn't meld. Now, if you watch the original Snyderverse movies, and then you watch Zack Snyder's Justice League, it works better as a connected bit. Is it a good movie? No. Is it a step up? Yes.
No.
I saw live action Darkseid for the first time in my life. 8-year-old me screamed for joy. My inner 8-year-old was freaking out. Dude, I was raised on... Nah, Snyder Cut sucks my balls. Yeah, it does. You're right. But at the end of the day, it's okay. It's not. It is not the peak fiction. It is not
than what we got.
It's objectively better than what we got. I liked the take of a more primal Darkseid. Like he rang more like a God of War villain, and I really liked that take on it because I liked the primal nature of it. So, didn't Darkseid get his butt kicked when he showed up in the flashback? Yes, but then there was a flash forward where he murdered the entire Justice League. So, I feel like he redeemed himself.
Succession. This show is so popular that almost 6,000 people in New York and Los Angeles have seen it.
Surely you're joking.
I'm joking, yes, but not by a ton.
That was okay. That's not funny because it's a MovieBob joke. It's funny because I was laughing at the Family Guy joke. It reminded me of the episode. I saw that episode live. It was funny. We should really go watch that episode instead.
Yes.
This is a cope laugh. This isn't like a laugh at MovieBob. Well, I am laughing at MovieBob, not with him, so, yeah. Either way.
Session
We're always
billions
laughing
are
at
acclaimed,
MovieBob.
and they do have their viewership spikes, especially when they get to their season finales, but on average, they draw the same kind of numbers as the also critically acclaimed Miss Marvel, which you may have heard came in on the lower end total viewership for the MCU.
Wait.
Remember when he cited this?
Did I hear the two words critically and acclaimed?
If you go and look at the statistic of reviews they delete for allegedly being review bomb, or reviews they delete for not praising a show, Miss Marvel used to be, like, rotten in the audience score. And it's not anymore, because now that the culture has moved on, Rotten Tomatoes zoomed in and, like, Reddit modded a bunch of the reviews out. All the negative reviews are basically gone. That's why it gets a B+ by the audience score. And they're gonna do the same thing to She-Hulk once the cultural zeitgeist has moved on.
Came in on the lower end total viewership for the MCU Disney Plus shows, but, because there's always a but, pulled higher numbers from audiences that Disney had previously had difficulty attracting to their end of the property pool in the first place, i.e. it did its job, but that's a whole other show. And
So, my thing here is, okay, show me the rewatch data, MovieBob. Show me the rewatch data. Go on.
I was gonna say that.
Pull up Miss Marvel's rewatch data. Since you were so quick to whip it out for Snyderverse, show me the rewatch data. Moon Knight was terrible, and that's still getting rewatched to this day. That's still being rewatched to this day. I literally walked into a church family friend's house, and they were watching Moon Knight. And they told me they were watching it for the second time because they loved Oscar Isaac's performance. That's a bad show, in my opinion, writing-wise. I feel like they missed a lot of opportunities with it. But it's still better than Miss Marvel, and it's still being rewatched.
step outside the cyberspace bubble and the nerd culture bubble and the politics bubble, bubbles in general, into just the terrestrial world.
You're telling us to step outside the politics bubble
when that's all he's been in.
Nothing but politics.
He lives in the politics bubble. He is the Caesar Zeppeli of politics bubbles.
You're so very hypocritical. You make Light Yagami look like a saint.
Okay, so he's got some sort of poorly explainable point.
I'll finish it.
Poorly explained point about why he's showing all the action. So, get to the point, MovieBob. Get to the point, Bob. Holy crap, this is what old people are watching now? Yes, it is, because guess what? It's a good show. Young people are watching it too. My girlfriend watched some of it. She says it's pretty good.
Present-day spin-off about a different ranch in Texas called 4 Sixes. There's another show from the same creator that has Jeremy Renner running a prison. I don't know if...
Mayor of Kingstown is phenomenal. Go watch that. Why? I'm really just on like a recommendation bind tonight.
This thing is a literal cash cow for Paramount right now in ratings and real dollars.
Yeah, but the internet?
It's almost like it's a good show. It's almost like good shows make money. It's almost like forgive my French, but give a singular damn about your show and you will make money. Like literally put an ounce of effort into your writing and you will print money. I don't get why this is so hard, and I don't get why it's like a right-wing cope take to say this.
Oh, the producers have done an astonishingly next-level good job of keeping it from becoming one of these culture war politicized things.
It's almost like good writing. It's almost like good writing. It's almost like good writing can supersede cultural conflict. It's almost like if you write something good, you supersede any potential for cultural conflict.
Man.
And yes, Kevin Costner wore an I'm for Liz Cheney shirt on set.
Like
Grow up.
The exact same thing 3 times in a row already, but that's just how.
That's just how brain dead MovieBob is.
Bob's arguments are.
Everyone remembers this being the case and being absolutely true. Superhero movies over, gone, dead to rights. Nobody wants those ever again. Public.
Once again, he's missing the point. So bad. All 3 of those movies. Like, you could watch a video of your dog dropping a steaming diarrhea on repeat, and it would be a more compelling movie than all 3 of these movies combined and squared. That is how bad these movies were.
Squared?
Okay?
That's a good way of putting it.
So, like, once again, he's missing the point. Bad movies fail. Bad shows fail.
Always.
Bad shows and movies are what we have a problem with. The races of people therein could not be less relevant to the equation. Give me an hour, a typewriter, and like a basic synopsis of what you want to see, and I will give you X Marvel movie or X Marvel show better written than what we got. I could read it on stream. I might read it on stream if there's a demand for it, but as a writing exercise, I typed up a better script for Werewolf by Night than the actual Werewolf by Night special. For a writing exercise.
So where was the death exactly? Because a 1-year pause between 97 and 98, during which a bunch of that stuff that came after was in development or production?
Thanks for demonstrating your listening ability. Thanks for demonstrating your capacity for garnering information and like paying attention to real arguments. Because yeah, never have we ever said that the death was happening at any of those points. Nobody was ever saying that. One thing he neglects to mention: if Blade had not made its money back, Marvel Films as we know it would not exist. Blade making a profit single-handedly saved the Marvel Comics industry. It saved the comics, it saved the movie studio, it saved everything by making money. And it's almost like it did so because it was a good movie. But you'll never hear someone like MovieBob admit that, because he'd have to admit that bad movies exist. And he doesn't want to do that because he's too busy indulging the everything is absolutely subjective, their objectivity doesn't exist argument.
The Star Wars franchise and other things that have been declared gone, dead, over, or non-starters at up and down points all along that same period. It's like
Disney is literally crapping itself because it doesn't know how to make another mainline Star Wars movie, because they are admitting without admitting that they screwed up with the most recent trilogy. What's the new show?
Last Jedi?
No, what's the new show? Hold on, I need to look up the name. Hold on.
The one that has to do with the rebels?
Yeah, hold on. New Star Wars show. It's embarrassing because this character is Andor is apparently, allegedly, really, really good, and that's coming from the critical drinker of all people. Disney is lamenting that Andor is underperforming because so many people are jaded and disconnecting from Star Wars because they're not feeling it anymore. The magic is gone
Exactly.
because you've homogenized something that was once cool. It's almost like when you take your time, when you plan things out, as opposed to just mindlessly churning out project after project, you make good things. But that formula is forever inaccessible, forever unreadable to people like MovieBob. Because the greater nuances of content creation are forever beyond his reach. He is incapable of registering it. Because in his mind, if you're not a shill, you are anti whatever's in newest current thing. For as much as he gets on people for being obsessed over newest current thing, you will never find someone more obsessed with what is in the newest current thing than people like MovieBob.
without the mouse keeping its properties perpetually in the conversation via theme parks and merchandise so that nothing ever
I
goes
miss
away
it.
anymore.
You're Peter.
Yeah. Peter Parker.
Okay, so
Yay, another unfunny.
Now, does that
what?
come to a summary?
No, but like, what did that clip literally have to do with this point? Literally, what did that clip have to do with this
Nothing.
point?
Absolutely nothing.
No, really, I am like daring a MovieBob stan, because this. I'm saying this in advance for the video that this is going to inevitably become. I'm daring a MovieBob stan. Please explain what that joke was. Explain the joke, because I don't get it. I'm booming out right now. I'm boomering out right now. What was the joke? Where was the funny? Easily one of the worst YouTube videos I've ever subjected myself to. I'm unsure whether or not it's worse than the first one, and I'm not going to bother revisiting the first one to see.